this a request considered too high? I look left, look right, look left, look right for a career path. I look left, look right, look left, look right for a career path. I look left, look right, look left, look right. I look left, look right.
Show 'em
I
that.
look left, right, left, right. 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 Is this a request considered too high? I look left, look right, look left, look right for a career path. I look left, look right, look left, look right for a career path. I look left, look right, look left, look right. I look left, look right.
Show 'em that.
Left, right, left, right. 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 Is this a request considered too high? I look left, look right, look left, look right for a career path. I look left, look right, look left, look right for a career path. I look left, look right, look left, look right. I look left, look right.
Show 'em that.
Left, right, left, right. 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 Is this a request considered too high? I look left, look right, look left, look right for a career path. I look left, look right, look left, look right for a career path. I look left, look right, look left, look right. I look left, look right.
Show 'em that.
I look, left, right, left, right. 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 Is this a request considered too high? I look left, look right, look left, look right for a career path. I look left, look right, look left, look right for a career path. I look left, look right, look left, look right. I look left, look right.
Show 'em that.
I look, left, right, left, right. 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 Is this a request considered too high? I look left, look right, look left, look right for a career path. I look left, look right, look left, look right for a career path. I look left, look right, look left, look right. I look left, look right.
Show 'em that.
I look, left, right, left, right. 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 Is this a request considered too high? I look left, look right, look left, look right for a career path. I look left, look right, look left, look right for a career path. I look left, look right, look left, look right. I look left, look right.
Show 'em that.
I look, left, right, left, right. this a request considered too high? I look left, look right, for a career path. I look left, look right, for a career path. I look left, look right, I look left, look right.
Show 'em
I
that.
look, left, right, 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 left, right. Is this a request considered too high? I look left, look right, for a career path. I look left, look right, for a career path. I look left, look right, I look left, look right.
Show 'em
I
that.
look, left, right, 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 left, right. Left, right, left, right, left, right, left, right. Is this a request considered too high? I look left, look right, for a career path. I look left, look right, for a career path. I look left, look right, I look left, look right.
Show 'em
I
that.
look, left, right, 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 left, right.
Good evening and welcome to day 4 of the Daily Ketchup General Election 2025 live stream. We're back from our short break over the weekend and boy did a lot happen. Some parties scored their own goals. And also speaking of own goals, Spurs scored one to help Liverpool win the Premier League. Thank you very much. If you're joining us for the first time, our live streams bring together the best guest hosts from Singapore's podcasting scene with election candidates across the parties. We're extremely excited and thankful that you joined us from day one. And if you haven't, tune in. We also have 2 more days. Tomorrow, we have guests from WP on. And on Wednesday, we also have a guest from PAP on. So lots of different guests across all different parties, just as we're about to hit to the polls on Saturday. Today, we have candidates from SDP joining us. Arifin Shah was supposed to join us, but unfortunately, he told us this morning that he was incredibly sorry. He had to be rescheduled for a rally tonight. We wish him all the best, and not to worry, we have with us SDP's Deputy Head of Policy, Dr. James Gomez, alongside his running mate at Sembawang GRC, Alfred Tan. We'll be asking them loads of policy questions. We also have Red Dot United Sec-Gen Ravi Philemon with us, fresh off his roundtable appearance on CNA yesterday. I'm especially keen on asking him about RDU's bold proposals like citizens' dividend. If you guys don't know, he's proposing that all citizens get a universal basic income. Free money, essentially, for everybody if you're Singaporean. Of course, accompanying us for all of that are our guest hosts for this evening. You know them for their work on screen and online and their fastest growing podcast, Rise and Shine. It's No One Lukey. Welcome to the show.
Welcome.
Hello. Sorry for making you guys wait sitting there.
Hey, no worries, man. No worries. All good. All good.
The prime example of how to do a...
Exactly. Can you learn how to open a podcast?
We all do 6-7 months already, and
Bro.
we are nowhere near that standard.
Yeah.
You are nowhere near that standard.
Bro, that's you.
You
every
keep
time
reading
you're
from the
starting-
screen, keep reading. Your eyes are never on the camera.
What a great representation
eyes-
of Rise and Shine, brother.
If you guys are wondering,
What a great representation.
There was more back and forth there than the round table yesterday.
Hey, but just now you're very professional. You all
When?
go live straight before this.
that's why.
Yeah, because
Big
our
jump
boss
is
there,
Okay, over there.
No, but if you guys are wondering, right, they were exactly like this even before we started. Like, they ended the already, right, whispering already. But like you guys mentioned, so Rise and Shine podcast, how's it going? How's the journey of being podcasters?
we are still surviving.
Yeah. Still able to breathe as of right now.
Still surviving.
Yeah.
Still surviving. Haven't drowned yet.
Yeah, I haven't drawn. I think all is not too bad. We have quite interesting guests that came, and then we are still trying to build from there, and then slowly step by step.
Okay, welcome to our GE2025 live stream. Are you guys politically active at all?
Honestly, not really. I'll be honest, not really.
I'm everything
Not really.
but politically active.
So then what do you think about like the recent like GE, like the campaign season? Like any news like floating in your screens or like just trying to stay out of it?
Bro, to be honest, right?
Quite a lot. I think the FYP page quite a lot of politics coming up. So I think like you said, some decided to attack own teammate.
Okay.
But you mentioned TikTok, right? Have you actually noticed any posts made by very clearly foreign actors? Because recently there's been an issue of foreign people, I don't know who they are, just people posting stuff to influence Singaporeans' votes. Have you all noticed this?
I surprisingly never see it. I haven't seen any post.
Your algo never kena.
Never. I only kena the I look left, look right. That's all I see on my TikTok. That's all I see. on
Like
TikTok.
memes.
Yeah.
Memes. It's all memes. Yeah.
Speaking of which, if you guys like the remix that you heard, I think on our previous stream and this one as well, this was remixed by our very own DJ Nash. In fact, like Straits Times also used the remix, and they ended up crediting it eventually. Thank you so much for that. But yeah, he just left, unfortunately. But he remixed
Our
it.
colleague.
Autograph signing, I think.
Yeah, I think so. No, but speaking about the post from foreign interference, like, did you encounter any?
I did actually. I noticed some of the ones. And funnily enough, I don't know why they're on my timeline. I don't speak the language that they're being created in. But then when you put it translate, you can tell it's not made by Singaporeans.
I see. Speaking of guests, so you guys may not be politically active, but you guys recently had Minister K. Shanmugam on.
Yes.
What was that like? Was
Very scary.
Scary, bro. Hey, shaking
Why?
inside. Guys, come on, he's Minister K. Shanmugam, and he comes got 4 bodyguards.
Wow.
But was he everything that you expected him to be, or like different?
I think he is. He's scary. Number one.
Yeah.
He's scary, but he's also very nice.
I would say humble.
Humble and nicer than what people make him out to be, maybe.
Okay.
Because maybe on screen when we watch him, right, he may seem like very scary on screen, but that's because they haven't interacted with him yet. But when they really interact with him, or if you I don't know, if you met him through like the Meet the People session or what, then I think you'll come to know that he's actually a very down to earth and humble guy.
I think the scary probably comes from the fact that he's just someone who knows his stuff
Yeah.
really well. So
He's
you
a
want to
lawyer,
talk already, you better know what you're going to talk.
Exactly, he's a lawyer.
Yeah.
So
Which is why you probably just if you just stick
Yeah.
to personal stories, he cannot debate.
He's
you on
disarmed probably.
Right.
Yeah,
but then you bring policy and then he will remember all and
all the back
deploy
of
his
his
lawyer
mind, yeah.
skills, right?
that. That's right. Speaking of K. Shanmugam, we also had him on the show about a couple of years back. Like, do you guys remember how that was like for us? Were you on?
Same, damn scared.
You were next to him. You were next
The
to him.
aura cannot tahan. Ah.
It's the aura lah.
Intimidating. Yeah.
Yeah. The only thing I scared to ask him any question because I'm scared like he thinks I doubt him. Then like, I'm not ready for the answer. I feel like every time I ask a question, I straight away look away. Yeah, that's my vibe. Something I'm keen to talk about was that I think we mentioned about own goals. So the SDP folks recently made headlines. Any general thoughts about that and like whether the apology was sufficient? Do we think?
I actually thought it was quite a good apology because not only did they ask Jajin to speak, right? So Dr. Chi started the address, followed by Jajin, then Arfin, and then Dr. Paul,
Yep.
and then finally all of them came onto stage and then did the bow.
Like a 90-degree.
So I feel like they all took like responsibility for it as a party lah. Instead of like just making her apologize, they made the whole party like talk about it.
Yeah,
Which I thought it was good lah.
I agree, and I think generally it felt like a decent. I mean, I think they did the best they could.
Yeah.
But I think what was disturbing was that during the clip, you could hear someone say like, "Hey, move on lah, move on." Like especially when Arif was
You know what's
speaking.
funny? The person who was saying that was actually an Indian gentleman.
Oh,
So he was thinking, I don't know whether he has like, oh, I'm like the face of the Indian crowd today. I need to speak for that. But it's taking away from the accountability that was being shown.
exactly.
Yeah, and I thought, firstly, I don't think it was a malicious use of the word. I just think, right, she grew up using it, then she didn't know it was malicious at some point.
Yeah.
Until she was told by everyone, like, you can't say that kind of stuff.
Yeah. But I think like especially with the gentleman saying that to move on, like I think something that I'm keen to ask the SDP folks that are coming is like, how do you navigate that? How do you try and educate your voter base? Because I'm sure like if they're there, they might be considering voting for SDP. How do you communicate with your voter base without like alienating them or making them feel like, hey, I don't belong here.
Yeah.
So I think that's something to look forward to. I think something else that also happened was the CNE roundtable that happened yesterday. I think a lot of people expected a debate, but it didn't end up being a debate.
Why wasn't it a debate?
I think
they're
a
voter
lot,
friendly.
No, but the last time round they got the debate. Then, like, at least they talk to each other, like more exciting. This time around they all just take turn to read their own speech. Like
Right.
yeah, I think there's a lot of speculation, but something that is not speculative is how Lim Tian feels about it because he actually came out and
He came
wrote,
No, that's
Of
Goming
the-
saying Mr. Go at a later time.
in that way. But he actually wrote a response. He actually tried to review like his thoughts on the entire thing.
Yeah, he basically said, I was extremely disappointed and angry at the format of the round table involving the parties. Why was the PAP allotted half the time for replies and everyone else had to share the other half? And then he goes on for a bit. He even complained that
Two more
Minister
paragraph.
Chi had an iPad. And everyone else had to make do with primitive pen and pencil. Not even in court when I was lawyering. And he just goes on for a bit.
Yeah, so about the format lah. And I think the justification that CNA did at the start was that I think how they looked at it was ruling party versus opposition in its entire block. So the opposition had 1 minute each, and then the ruling party representative Chee Yong Tat had 4 minutes essentially.
Yeah, he's just angry that he didn't get to cross-examine the minister
Right.
on policies. So
He
felt
just
like,
want to
I say,
debate
then
only
you
lah.
say, then done.
He just want to debate only.
I think he's probably lawyers,
he's
they like
on fire for debates.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly that. But how do we feel about some of them? I thought Michael Teng did extremely well. I thought it was quite impressive to see him there. I thought Chee Yong Tat actually did not bad as well. Yeah. Did you guys manage to catch any of the clips? or-
I watched like snippets. Then apparently they said Michael was like a debate team.
Oh, you can tell. You
There
can
you
tell.
go.
Then I was like, no wonder.
Yeah,
like
yeah,
I
yeah.
can feel the debateness.
I find he got the say
The
of
say, yeah.
Jamus also.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
They got the same vibe.
The same way of talking, because
Yeah.
the first half, right, I actually watched it. I actually listened to it
Right?
on the
If you
radio.
close your eyes, it sounds like
It
Jamus.
sounds very, very similar. That's a very, very good point. Speaking of the CNA roundtable, we do have one of their participants here with us today. I think it's time to bring him on if he's ready.
Oh,
okay.
Let's
Judge and
welcome
Dodger.
our first guest candidate, the Sec Gen for Red Dot United and candidate for Nee-Soon GRC. Ravi Philemon, welcome to the show.
hi.
You sit at where John Paul is sitting. He is just transitioning your name tag.
Sorry.
Again, this is all live and we are saving budget lah on like lower third. So just let our low tech solution.
No
yeah.
VFX.
We are Christopher Nolan will be very proud. All physical.
Hi. How are you?
Nice to
meet you. Hi. I was told that I have to be brief with the greetings and get to the mic as soon as I can.
Yes.
Yeah. So I'm going to do just that. Yeah.
Thank you so much for joining us. Welcome to the
Sure.
show. So speaking of roundtable, like how was it yesterday?
Well, I was expecting a debate, and I was kind of disappointed that there were no debates. But it's understandable, right? Because in the last few elections, it was Vivian who was represented the PAP, and we
Yes.
all know he is a very good
Debater.
damn good debater.
Yeah.
Right. So, well, we don't know if Chee Hong Tat is a debater or not. So, I mean, I'm just speculating that the whole format was changed because Chee Hong Tat is not a debater. But I went in looking for a debate, and all I got was like writing exams. Like, we were given a piece of paper. These are the questions that I'm going to ask you. You have the answers for them.
Yeah.
And then how do you answer such deep questions in 1 minute?
Yeah.
So that's the difficulty. So I thought that let's pick out the keywords and then just, try to answer those keywords.
Can I know? Sorry, did you know that it was the format and then before you signed up?
not
They're
at all.
like,
Not at all.
surprise!
It's a surprise. Just 1 hour before.
1 hour before.
1 hour before we were told
Okay.
of the format.
Okay.
1 hour before we were given the question. So that's when we
So
knew.
stressful, like
Yeah.
school like that.
Yes, I told them that.
Oh.
Seems like I'm studying for another exam. I'm sitting for another exam. Yeah, that was how it was.
In the future, would there be more, I don't know, like a possible debate or...
Well, I hope so. I think that was the best platform that CNA could. CNA's platform is the best platform, and I think they somehow missed it this time around.
Too nice already.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Did you have a whole team with you preparing the answers, or was it just yourself?
We could bring two
Okay.
people with us. So I had brought my research team and I brought my comms team, but didn't need them after all.
Yeah.
Okay.
And no iPad lah.
Yeah. No. Well, you could. I think they told us that you can bring in your laptops and iPads. And
Okay.
whatever. They discouraged pen and paper, but I'm a pen and paper guy. It's easier to put down my thoughts in pen and paper rather than on a laptop. So yeah.
Okay, I'm keen to know more about you. Like something that I read was that you were part of 4 different political parties in 12 years. What's the story?
Actually, I only contested under 2 different parties. One is SPP, and the other 2, the last one, 2020 and 2025, is under RDU. And of course, I've been affiliated with many different political parties in Singapore. The opposition party, we all know pretty much everyone else. And when I first went in 2011, it was mainly to help my friend Jeanette Chong Aruldos, who was contesting as an NSP candidate. And my intention was never to contest an election, right? It was to go help this woman. She's a remarkable woman. Let her succeed in what she wants to do. So that was my intention. And so when she moved on from NSP to SPP, I had no reason to stay on in NSP, right? I had no ambition to contest an election, so I went where she was going. My intention was to make sure that she succeeds in what she was trying to do. And then the 2015 GE came, and I was asked a question that I cannot say no to. So I always say that I'm an accidental candidate. Yeah. So in 2015, in 2011, some people asked me to contest the GE as well. Some very, very prominent, significant people from the opposition. But I said no because my children were still very young at that time. We had just came back from working in the US and in Canada for a few years. And they couldn't fit into the local schooling system, so I had to put them in private school. And so I needed a certain stream of income to maintain the kind of lifestyle that I had. So I knew that I had to resign from my job and all that stuff, you see. So I said no. But in 2015, I couldn't do that because my children were older. My daughter had graduated. She had already found a job. My son was waiting for his national service call-up. And then I thought that, just do it one time as a national service. But, in life takes you to destination that you never planned for. That is I think that's the beautiful thing about life, right? You think that you're just making one tiny sacrifice. And then here I am today in your show.
I feel you.
Wait, so how do you go from being the accidental candidate, like you said, to like starting your own party?
I know, yeah. So I would still say that the RDU is an accidental party.
Oh,
I mean,
wow.
I'm just like, but we are not a party without a purpose. You see?
Okay.
So, when the 2015 GE started, I was almost like an independent candidate. I had to raise my own funds, bring in my own helpers. I just took the political party's symbol, put it there, and my photo was next to the symbol, and I said, vote, 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 vote. But other than that, I ran the entire campaign by myself. So at the end of the campaign, we felt that that politics in Singapore was very personality driven.
Yep.
Because at that time we had Chiam Si Tong and Mr. Lau Tia Kiang.
Yeah, big personalities.
Big personalities. And we felt that we needed something that is values driven. We needed something that is a movement and not a political party. Because there's a difference between a movement and a political party, right? Because for political parties, in between elections, you become semi-dormant because there's nothing much for you to do, right? But a movement is very different because you engage with the ground, you talk about issues. So we wanted to start a movement rather than a political party. And I think it paid off, And we planned everything, although I say that we are an accidental party, but we did plan everything. For example, the 2020 GE, right? We went to Jurong. The biggest of the giants of the PAP is in Jurong, right?
Yeah.
So it was a calculated move. We thought that, hey, we are a 3 weeks old party. In 2020, we were a 3 weeks old party. And we said that nobody's going to give their vote for a 3 weeks old party, but there will be a hardcore opposition supporters. So there is a chance that we may get to keep our deposits. Of course, we don't want to lose our deposit. That's the important thing, right? $70,000 just for five
candidates, yeah.
Yeah, for 5 candidates.
Wow,
yeah.
oh my God.
Yeah. And this time around is a lot more. So
They increased the price.
no, because we're fielding a lot more candidates this time around, right? 15 candidates compared to 5 candidates. So it's like 70 times 3. So that's the... Yeah. So but we went in with a purpose. We knew that the election is a time where people have more awareness of social-political issues, and we wanted to seed ideas. We felt that we had an idea about how we need to be values-driven, how we want to be a movement. And so that's why we went into the GE2020 and went to contest against Tharman. It's very funny, because it is a hard ground, right?
Yep.
I remember this one incident. I went into a coffee shop, a small little coffee shop in the midst of COVID, right? And a family of 3 sitting down having their meal, and the dad took my flyer. He looked at me, "Oh, you are the one going up against Tharman." So from his tone, I knew that he was not going to give me his vote, right? Yeah. So his son, first time vote, I'm guessing. He was eating, he wasn't even looking at me. When he said that going up against Tharman, he dropped his cutlery, looked at his dad and said, "Papa, they're very good leh. Did you see their rally or not?" So I excused myself, I went out. But from that conversation, right, I knew that the 2 older people were probably going to vote for Tharman, but here I had a very young man, a first-time voter perhaps, who could possibly give us their votes, right? So these were some of the stories that we were hearing, and it was very, very encouraging. And after the election, right, we are going around the constituency, greeting, thanking people, and all that. And we came across a table of a middle-aged man and his family having their breakfast. And we brought the thank you flyer to him. Before I could reach him, he said, "Donate, I never vote for you." So we said, "Thank you." We moved to the next table, a longish table like this, right? 6, 7 people, young people having their morning tawai chui and the morning breakfast and all that. Before I could even reach the table, they saw what that man said. before I could even reach the table, one of them got up and he said, "Uncle, don't worry, we all voted for you," and they started clapping for me. Yeah.
So like every time you get a morale setback, right? There's always someone there.
Right.
Some
So
encouragement.
if you look at the early people who joined the party, right, it's all like very young people, 35 years old and below, who believed in. I think the feedback that I got was that we had a good manifesto. They started reading the manifesto. In my experience, I had contested I had been involved in the 2011 GE, have contested the 2015 GE. I think it was only in the 2020 GE that people started reading manifestos.
Yeah.
You know, in the past, we just prepared manifesto for the academics to read or for the newspaper to read, give you snippets of what's in the manifesto. But I think something changed in 2020. I also see it now that people actually take the trouble to read what's in the manifesto.
Right.
And that is very, very encouraging for me.
I think it was COVID when everyone was stuck at home and then there was no other way
Yeah,
to like, get
possible.
involved, right?
Everyone
just started reading all this.
Right.
No, but it's good. I think the net result is fantastic.
Yes.
You mentioned about going against big personalities. You went against now President Tharman back in 2020, and now you're heading to Nee-Soon against another big personality, Minister Shanmugam.
Yes.
What was the thought behind like heading to Nee-Soon?
Well, I think this time around I'm leading a bigger team, and I think the leader has always got to lead. You know, there are different school of thoughts towards this, right? Some people do tell me, "Hey, Ravi, you should have gone to SMC. You know, it's first you get elected in an SMC, you know, and then your party can grow and so on and so forth." But I think it's important. For me personally, I think that it's important that the leader leads the team. It's like a battle, right? And a leader needs to lead the team into the battle. And I think Nee-Soon is at the heart of the battle. How can I say no to that? Right. So I mean that's why I'm there.
Okay. We want to get into juicy policy questions, but just before that, someone did ask from the community, and I have to ask it. Is Red Dot United name for footballing reasons? Because it sounds like a football team.
Yeah, people do ask me, Red Dot, like a football club. I say, yeah, like macam like Manchester United, but you also support Liverpool.
Yesterday win title, everybody become a Liverpool fan. I don't know.
I wanted to ask Mr. Ravi. I keep seeing you on like social media.
Right.
Like you singing Apata and these
Hokkien
songs.
I was making a point lah.
I don't know the context because social media, right? I just scroll, then it's just like a meme, a short clip. So I just see you just singing.
Right. I mean, I was making a point that I think the two songs shows the different lifestyle that people lead. I mean, the Apata song is about having a party in your home, inviting friends over and all that. Right?
Actually, you know the meaning. I don't even know the meaning of the song.
So actually, you're a Blackpink fan.
So, I mean, in Singapore, if you have a party in your house, your neighbor is going to knock on your door, is going to call the police and all that. The HDB flatline. Okay. So, I think, so who can have a party in their home? It's the rich, the famous, the rich, the well-connected, the billionaire class, in their landed property, in their private condominiums. If you're in a HDB, a more appropriate song would be the Hokkien song, right? Yeah.
Actually, what's the
Because it means if you're hardworking, even if fortune doesn't favor you, if you're hardworking enough, heaven looks favorably upon you.
You have to fight to win.
Yeah, you have to fight.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
You're Hokkien, eh?
Yeah, so
I'm Hokkien lah. I know.
I love it. That's Singapore right there,
Yeah.
That's the Indian and the person explaining to the other Indian what the Hokkien song is there. I love that. Thank you so much for that.
Right.
So moving into policy questions, I think a key piece of your manifesto is the citizens' dividend, which I think sounds, a lot of people have brought up, sounds a bit like universal basic income.
Sure.
Can you explain how that works?
I will agree that it is the universal basic income because I think the world is changing, right? The world is changing. I was against the universal basic income for the longest time, and in my party, one of my key members is a billionaire, right? And he thinks that the world is changing too fast and that we don't have a response for it. It's a very worrying thought for him. The world is changing and we don't have a response for the world. And together we discussed it and we realized that in the next 10 years, there will be 1.2 billion people who will be coming into the workforce, but there are only 400,000 jobs that are available. Singapore being a small, connected country, there is no way that we can escape this onslaught, right? So what's the answer? It surely cannot be $6,000 for 6 months. That surely cannot be the answer. So I think we have to consider the universal basic income, which is what the citizens' dividend is. What are of course, Alaska has a similar universal basic income. But Alaska has got a lot of rich resources and so on, right? What are the resources that Singapore have? Only 2 things. One is the most hardworking people in the world. I think we work the longest hours in the world.
Yeah. You don't speak about yourself.
I didn't know that's
I mean, look at you guys. You're working. What's the time now? It's like 8:30 almost. Have you had your dinner or not?
We have.
Okay, yeah.
We're excited to host you. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, one of the most hardworking people in the world, and our geographical location, right? And if we don't have these 2 things, then we are in a lot of trouble. So I think it's important to take care of our people. It is important to take care of our planet. So I think this is where the citizens' dividend comes in. And of course, we also need to do our math, right? Because the math needs to add up. So what we are proposing for is a pilot. And when we did the math, we came to an amount of $1.3 billion, I think, for the pilot annually. And how do we fund this? It's not by increasing taxes or not by raiding our reserves. We have surpluses, right? Year after year. I think for 2 years in a row, we have $6 billion in surpluses. And we can very easily fund the citizens' dividend from the surpluses.
But what if there's a year that no surplus, then how?
Of course, I don't know if there has been any year where there have been no surpluses, but we are also calling for modest tax reforms, not on the ordinary people. What we have called for are modest tax reforms on the billionaire class and the big companies. And I think that they are not paying their fair share of the taxes. I think a little bit more can be added onto them. And I think the ordinary people can be freed from some of these tax burdens. I mean, I can tell you one, which is carbon tax. We have called for the abolition of carbon tax because you know why? The big companies, they pass down the carbon tax in your electricity bill to you, right? I mean, why should ordinary citizens pay for the pollution that the big companies are making? The biggest polluters are not ordinary people. They are the big companies, right? So I think we should have legislation where the big companies, the big boys, pay their fair share of polluting the environment where it does not get passed down to the consumers. You see? So that's how we are trying to stack the tax, that it goes more if you are wealthy, if you are super wealthy. I'm not even talking about the wealthy, right? I'm talking about super wealthy, the top 1%. If you're super wealthy, you're not.
You're talking to my friend here.
I'm doing right with a car. How do I have a broken bicycle?
You got go on your
See, you got
Hey, oh my God, blink.
You see, no.
Show your watch then. Show your watch then. Okay.
I think when we are in the process of like what's rich and what's not rich and all that, I think one easy way that people generally, the streets, what we figured out is,
Right.
You and the street.
my streets, yeah, because the CDC vouchers are a quick way to tell whether someone is being identified as a lower income group, demographic who needs the help. And you've spoken about the CDC vouchers before, and you have a criticism about them,
right?
And we won't get into that, but I want to know how you feel about UBI versus CDC, and why not just an expansion of targeted help?
I think the vouchers, like I said, I've lived in the US for a few years, right? And they have something very similar to CDC vouchers in the US, which is the food stamps program. So if you're poor, if you need a bit more help than the others, then you stand in the grocery line and they give you food stamps. You can pick up your groceries and all that. I think that takes dignity away from the person. So which is why and these are short-term measures, right? The CDC voucher scheme is not a full-term measure. It is a temporary measure to help with the short-term pain, right? So what is the big plan? What is the big picture? That has not been communicated down to us at all. We cannot run a country on short-term measures. And this is why I'm a little bit disappointed. I think this ruling party has become a bit more populist. And I have questioned whether they are looking at the big picture. And which is why, if you look at the manifesto of Red Dot United, our manifesto actually calls for a new social compact, new social contract. You know, because we want to look at the long term. Of course, short terms are useful. We welcome the vouchers. You know, it helps some people to eat well, to do their groceries, to get their daily necessities and all that. But surely it cannot be a fix for the long-term problems that we are going to have.
What about those who say that the CDC vouchers, because it's limited to just like supermarkets and local SMEs, it's meant to help boost businesses for local SMEs, whereas a cash, you can use it for online spending, you can use it overseas.
Yeah, so it boosts businesses for the local SMEs and NTUC FairPrice and Sheng Siong and Giant and all that. Right? But if you had cash, the cash could go on to many more shops,
Right.
Retail outlets, to many more businesses across the board, right? So the CDC is very, very limiting. And there are also administrative costs to the CDC. So there's a lot of like red tapes and bottlenecks, you know, which, I mean, I think a voucher scheme is not the best way to redistribute wealth to the people.
I just want to highlight as well, while we're quickly on the CDC vouchers, that people in chat are also reflecting this, especially like Alan Chen and a few others, is that the Prime Minister has come out and said the CDC vouchers are meant as a permanent assistance scheme. So not a temporary
I mean,
voucher
if
program.
they are giving, I think if the Prime Minister has come out to say that the CDC voucher is a permanent scheme, then I haven't seen that yet. Probably he said it yesterday or the day before. I haven't seen it yet because I know that when CDC vouchers were given out, it was given out because it was part of the inflation, inflationary period that we are going through. That was when it was introduced. So that's news to me. But I think if it's going to be a permanent feature, why not just give cash instead of CDC vouchers?
Because, right, that's true. I agree because sometimes I forget I got CDC vouchers, right?
Yeah.
Then someone would tell me, hey, tomorrow I need to use finish. Then I got like $300. Then I don't know what to
Yeah.
Then you need to
Then I have
figure
to
out where,
Google like, oh, the nearby
accept-
shop got bicycle or something. to buy or something.
Something that I've also read in the manifesto is that the citizens' dividend is meant to help distribute wealth a lot more effectively. But the plan is to also progressively expand it universally.
Yes.
So how does that work?
I think it works with a pilot. Of course, what we are asking for is to have a pilot of the citizens' dividend. So once you have had a pilot, you would know if it works or it doesn't work. Then, as a nation, we can decide, okay, let's move in this direction. Let's spend a bit more on this thing because this is important. We need to have a conversation around this idea. We cannot put it in the back burner, and then when the crunch comes, then start worrying about it. So that's what we are calling for. We are calling for a pilot. I think we are a responsible political party. Like I said, we have a lot of young people in our political party, and sometimes people think that our young people are so irresponsible. They just want to squander away everything. But let me tell you, that's not my experience. The people that we have ask me hard questions. They tell me that, hey, make sure that you don't touch the reserves. We don't want to raid the reserves, you know, so whatever we spend has got to be within what we can afford. So these are the kind of questions that the people that are around me continue to ask, right? But we need to have a conversation around the universal basic income or the citizens' dividend because the world is changing. And I think the worry for me, I'm a father of 2 children. I have 2 grandchildren, 1 more grandchild coming on the way. The worry for me is, what kind of Singapore are we? Am I leaving for them? They'll be here long, long, long after I'm gone. So what kind of Singapore am I leaving for them?
So actually, another aspect of universal UBI versus CDC is that CDC, you're given a voucher, you have to use it at a local business, at a supermarket, SME, etc. And some people in our chat as well, they've Clement and Caitlin, for instance, they are asking, wouldn't giving just cash allow you to incentivize you, go over the border, spend it in JB? You're pumping another economy rather than our local economy.
How many people will do that, right? I think
think a
it
lot,
comes from.
The streets I'm on, people say, CDC, I wish I can spend in JB.
Well, I mean, that shows you how stressed people are, right? It shows you that they can have a better quality of life across the causeway than they can in Singapore. I mean, to me, it sets off a lot of alarm bells within me, right? But I think also it comes from a place of distrust from the ruling party. I know that sometimes when they give out NTUC vouchers for those families that are poor, it's stamped on the voucher, right? Not for cigarettes or alcohol, So, I mean, it comes from. I mean, how many people?
Yeah.
Well, let me tell you one story. I'm a storyteller, so I like to tell stories, right? So I was in the social services sector for 25, 30 years of my life, right? And there was one time this mother of 9 children, or 7 to 9 children. Maybe I'm exaggerating. It's a lot of children. My mother had 9. My mother's parents had 9 children. My mother was the second of the 9. But that was a different generation, Yeah, so she had many children, right? So one day she called me and she said that she didn't have anything to eat for her family. So I called her over to my office, gave her some groceries and all that. And I asked her, how are you going to bring it back home? She said that I will walk back. And her home was at least 3 kilometers away from where my office was. I said, what? Looking at her, I said, going to walk back with this? And she said, yeah, I've got no bus fare, no nothing. I mean, you're surprised, right? This is Singapore, right? And so, can't have this, and the children are still already hungry. So from my wallet, I took out $20. That's all I had. And I gave it to her and said, take a taxi back home. And I know that as a community worker, I shouldn't have given her that cash, but it is humanity. It is how do I be a human being versus what do I need to do in a job. And I chose to be a human being than to strictly follow the guidelines.
I think at that point you felt like that was the better thing to do rather
exactly.
than what is right or wrong.
Yeah, correct. Yeah. But the thing is, a few minutes later, I went down, right? I went down the staircase to go and have my lunch. And I saw her, I saw this woman with a cigarette in her hand.
Oh, no.
And when she saw me, she went like this. So my instinct was, my first instinct, I think it's a human instinct, to say that, she used my $20 to buy a packet of cigarette. Right. It's a human instinct. But then in a split second, I thought, all of us, when we are stressed, we go to Malaysia or somewhere for a holiday, right? We want to de-stress somewhere, or we go for a spa or something like that. For this woman, that stick of cigarette is the holiday for her. See, it is a break. You can imagine the kind of immense mental stress that she is in, taking care of so many children, and she needs a break. She needs a break. Who will give her the break? Maybe that stick of cigarette for just that 1 minute or so gives her the break. Do I condone it? Do I approve of it? Absolutely not. But do I understand why she does it? I totally understand.
Wow, that's a very, very generous assumption. But I think it goes to show where you're coming from. I'm curious for you guys, what do you guys think of universal basic income? Like basically every Singaporean gets a certain amount of cash because you're a citizen.
Well, thanks for the definition.
Yeah, right.
Wait, actually, how are we getting that money though? Like every year? Is it or what? How does it work? I never really heard of this.
We had to work out the mechanism.
Okay.
It can be at a monthly rate, or I prefer it to be a monthly dividend that is given out, because you can have money in the pocket, right? And that's where people are hurting these days. But yeah, we can work out the mechanism. It can be once every 6 months or once a year.
And you had the total figure, but how much would everyone receive essentially?
The calculation is about $200 per person.
Right.
Yeah.
Per month.
Per month.
Per
yes.
month.
I see.
Yeah.
Okay.
Do you think it's a policy that appeals to the vast majority of Singaporeans if I say, I'm giving this money not just to you, but also to the billionaires, the millionaire class. Everyone gets it, right? There's universal.
So I mean, which is why I said it's an ecosystem, right? So the in our plan, if you go and read I'm not telling you can read our shadow budget. It's a lengthy document, but if you digest it down, what we have called for is for modest tax increases for the billionaire class as well as the big businesses. So I think if the billionaires are paying a lot more in taxes than $200 every month, I think we can give it to them lah. It is an ecosystem, right? That it's an ecosystem change that we are talking about. Yeah.
And an immediate thought that occurs to me is that so back in the day, my family needed CDC assistance when my dad passed away. We had to make ends meet, right? And I'm thinking I was poor and we had to spend that to feed the household, right? A rich person doesn't need to spend that, so it goes in their bank and gains interest for them or whatever it is, the investment, whatever. I'm putting the money back in the economy. Yep. They are not.
Yep.
If we don't have capital gains tax, so that money will probably never get taxed again.
Yeah.
My money, that money is going right back in.
Right.
But theirs is not re-entering the system. Yeah. So I feel a bit like, how come we both get it, but then I have to spend it, right? And then they're just keeping it.
That's the thing that I don't understand, you see, because even our Prime Minister keeps saying that, for the GST, right? If you're middle income, you pay less. If you're lower income, you pay less, but the GST cash, the cash scheme, it's given out twice a year, but we have to pay GST every day. So it pinches you every day. You see, whenever you make a purchase, you pinch you, right? And of course, another thing that is said is that the rich pay more GST than the ordinary citizens and so on. But the rich pay the GST from the loose change we have. Whereas the ordinary citizens pay the GST from what we barely have or what we don't have. So that's a big difference. So thanks for bringing that up. So that caught me thinking a little bit lah.
Okay. Besides this on citizen dividend, we have a question here from one of our viewers, Ravi Leong. She's interested. I'm assuming it's a she or he. But Ravi is interested to know what is this HDB reset policy?
Well, I think one main concern that we have gathered from different residents is that the value of HDB flats will be zero at the end of the 99-year lease. Of course, some of the areas that we are contesting in, the flats have already reached like 40, 50 years. So there are a few more years left. So what is the plan when the flat reaches 99 years? So surely it cannot be zero, right? I mean, even your car, when you scrap it at the end of the 10-year COE period, you get some value from it, right? So what is the value from that? So I think we need to have a mandatory CERS for all. That means it's not selective. Right now, the en bloc scheme is very selective.
Yep.
So we are calling for a mandatory en bloc scheme where every HDB flat gets to have CERS for them. So that's what we're calling for. Another thing that we are calling for is a rent-to-own scheme, right? Because many young people, right now, when you can only apply for a BTO when you're 35 years old. And when you're young and single, people have come to us, like I said, my party, I've said it 3 times. I think this is the 3rd time that I'm saying. There are a lot of young people in my party. Why do I need to stay with my parents until I'm 35, And why can't I find a flat when I'm like 28 or 29 or 30, So I think this is a legitimate question to ask, So I think when you're young, when you're not earning as much as you could when you're in your late 30s or in your 40s, I think a rent-to-own scheme makes a bit more sense for the younger people where you pay a certain amount every month and then you will eventually get to own your flat. So these are some of the housing resets that we have called for. We have also called for the housing prices to be pegged to a certain number. Like last year, the housing prices, the HDB price went up by 9.9% or something like that. We are saying that it should not appreciate more than 3 to 5%. So we still want our HDB flats to appreciate in price because that's how our society, our economy is structured. I think if the flat price is going to crash, then a lot of families will suffer, and we don't want our people to suffer. So we want the prices to appreciate, but at a more sustainable level. And it can be done. From a policy level, it can be done, and that's what we are calling for.
A lot of buyers would like the sound of that, but a lot of sellers might not like the sound of pegging the appreciation.
I have owned HDB flats, right? And if you remember I bought my flat in the 2013s where the price was like maybe in the $500, $500.
I would like to
Which area? Which area?
Immediately pull out the checkbook already, but I want.
So the 500K range line.
Right.
And then after 2014, 2015, there was a dip in the HDP
Okay.
price, right? Price went down. And the price dropped by about $60,000 to $80,000. That was what it was selling until COVID came in, and then the price went up and all that. Right? And I thought to myself, okay, $60,000 to $80,000, I can take it, I can bear the loss. If it means that my children can get a house that is more affordable to them, this is a loss that I can, it's a paper loss, right? It's not a real loss, a paper loss. I'm going to stay in my house maybe forever and ever and ever until I die. So I can bear with the paper loss line. No, it's not like you're going to sell your house immediately, and then there's a question also, right? If you sell your house for $500,000, you have to buy the next house at what? Like $580,000, $600,000. So does it make sense or not?
I mean, if you're on the upgrade level, sure. But I do know of a lot of older couples who are slowly thinking about getting to, monetize their property and then downsize so they can spend on their retirement. So I think we've spoken at length on HDB and on the UBI policy they have. Another thing that I was reading in your manifesto was the Citizens First hiring policy. So I know quite a few people in just my friend group itself, we're having a lot of trouble right now getting work, right? And I believe the current system is that you need to advertise a job for locals first, and then wait a certain amount of time before you can consider hiring a foreign talent. What is your proposal? How does it differ from this?
I think the main difference, the current job legislation advocates for fair chance for all Singaporeans. The Citizens First hiring policy advocates for fair rights towards a job. So that is the main difference between the Citizens First hiring policy and the current job legislation that the government has. I think, like I said, I've worked in the US, I've worked in Canada for several years, and there are legislation in that country which better protects their citizens. That means you not only have to advertise and prove to the government, but you actually have to show that you interviewed a local for it and why this local does not qualify for that job. You have to make sure that the salaries offered are within a certain range, so you don't discriminate a local against a foreigner. So we need a better set of policies to make sure that the Singaporean worker is better protected. I mean, I think Singapore should remain an open society, right? The only way we can survive, Singapore has always been a trading port. I think we cannot survive in any other way. We are not a big economy like China or the US or whatever. So I think we have to remain an open society. We have to be welcoming of foreigners. But I think as we remain an open society, as we welcome foreigners, I think the most important thing is how do we accentuate the privilege of citizenship? I think that is an important question that we all need to ask, right? Why is it if someone comes into Singapore with $1 million, he can become a citizen in like 6 months or a year or whatever? Probably I'm exaggerating. That may not be the actual timeline. But why is it that if I'm a Singaporean and I marry a foreigner, in many instances, if I don't make enough money, she's only offered the LTVP. So how I think that is unfair. I think we need the ecosystem to be fairer, and the privilege of citizenship must be better accentuated. If Singaporeans feel like, hey, foreigners are coming in, but it's okay, I'm a citizen and so I have all these privileges, it eases some of the tensions. See? That's where we are coming from. We want Singapore to be a more united country. The country is tearing at the seams. The fabric of society is tearing at the seams. And I think if you really look at the policies that we have put through, it is actually to make sure that society doesn't break apart. According to, of course, we have race, religion, language. That is the fault line in our society. But those fault lines can be easily fixed. No, I think so. It can be easily fixed. Even if it's not easily fixed, we have fixed it through the generations. Your generation will fix it differently. My generation fixed it differently. But I think the biggest fault line in our country is the wealth gap. right? High SES, low SES, and whatever else SES you have in between. Like, so if you look at our policy papers, look at our manifesto, it is aimed at closing the widening inequality gap that we have.
Something that we often see is that whenever there are policies to, when we look at the wage gap, for example, a Singaporean talent most likely will ask for more than a foreign talent. And so the companies that feel the brunt of this most are SMEs, right? Rather than the MNCs.
Right.
How does RDU plan to support SMEs then?
I think there are different schemes that we have suggested. One is a temporary electricity bill rebate scheme. I'm just like, there is a proper term for it, but I'm just telling you what it is.
Okay.
Because electricity bill,
there's a lot of things to remember.
So the electricity bill is like has been increasing over the years. So it's a temporary measure, not a permanent measure, where we offset the electricity bill for a certain period of time. And then we have also called for the big boys, the government-linked companies and all that, to lead the way to make sure that the rents are better moderated in the buildings that they own, because it will have a ripple effect, right? Yeah. So these are some of the things that we have called for. But I think that the big boys are given a preferential treatment in business. I'm talking about business, right? Big boys are given a more preferential treatment compared to our local businesses and our local enterprises. There are lots of micro businesses that operate from home that even have difficulty applying for loan from the banks, right? Because the banks don't even want to entertain you if you're a micro business. So I think we need to shift our focus away from the big boys. I think the big boys know how to survive. I think it's the small, medium, and the micro businesses that we need to help them to sustain. And
something that we also proposed was for Singapore to move away from a GDP-focused economy to a well-being economy. I don't know whether I missed out on it, but in the manifesto, I don't believe it details how it's going to be measured. So what do you mean by how do you measure?
Other countries have measures like that. Okay. We have not... it's detailed in our shadow budget, which is why we did not detail it. Maybe if I detail it, my manifesto will go up to like the PAP booklet. Even the current booklet.
What is shadow budget?
A shadow budget is when the government releases a budget as an opposition party. We come out with an alternative budget that we can give.
Like all the math.
Yes, correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's akin to in the Westminster system, for example, or in the UK, right? The opposition will have a shadow finance minister, a shadow to all the different ministries, and then they will prepare something similar so that the public gets to see what the alternative might
like challenge.
Essentially.
Yeah. In a sense. I mean, a different version, not challenge, At RDU, we don't believe in adversarial politics. Sure. We think that it's important. We don't mind debating. We want to discuss, but I think it must be solution focused. It must be to the benefit of the people. So we are very clear about that. So we challenge, yes, but it's never because, hey, I want to get you down or whatever.
Right.
It's not like INFP, I think. You're like peacemaker.
Hey, I like that. I like that. Yeah.
You don't know your
If I had $1 for every time Alison asks political figure the MBTI, I could pay for the UVM myself.
So if you're interested, so how it started was that we had Prime Minister Lawrence Wong on, and Alison actually tried to guess his MBTI, and then it became a huge thing that whenever we have a candidate on our comment section is asking us to ask what your MBTI is. Do you know what your MBTI is?
No, what is the MBTI? Tell me what's the MBTI.
Like they say there are 16 personalities lah. So the first one, for example, is like extrovert or introvert. Then
we're spending time explaining.
I mean, right now, I'm in a state of trance, right? Because
No, I just think you're INFP. You just remember these 4 letters.
After election, when you're free, you can do the test, the Myers-Briggs personality test.
I think I've done it. But I just can't recall it right now.
You're too busy to do.
Yeah. Coming back to this, I did want to press though, like why the emphasis on the well-being economy and why the move away from GDP?
I think there's a tendency for people to misunderstand that we're asking to move away from the GDP growth, right? I think that's not what we are calling for.
Okay.
What we are calling for is that the GDP is important, but so is the people's well-being, so is the planet's well-being. So what we have called for is actually a well-being economy where you measure the growth of the GDP along with the well-being of the people as well as the well-being of the planet. I think countries like New Zealand has a well-being, has an index where they actually measure the well-being of the people, where they actually measure the well-being of the planet along with the GDP. I think we need to move into that matrix because it will tell us how the people are doing, how Singapore is doing. You know.
So it's not GDP at all costs, essentially,
correct,
which seems to
correct.
be the focus at the moment.
So we focused a bit on housing. I think we focused on CPF because like a lot of these matters, and I assume you're coming up with these policies because you talk to people on the ground and you get them. You guys, any of these resonate with you, or is there another cause that you're more like focused on the election time?
Don't ask us anything, please.
honestly, I can say,
Mesmerized by your manifesto.
we are learning a lot as of right now.
For sure.
We are learning a lot.
We are. I'm quite I'm quite informed.
Thank you.
Really.
What's your biggest learning lesson so far?
No, I like this thing about the measuring of the well-being because I think as Singaporeans we place a lot of focus on like money. But so that's also why when Singapore I think was ranked, it's either one of the least happiest places or something like that. I really
One of the most stressful places.
I really resonate with that in a way. Not that I'm not happy, but like I can see why Singaporeans might not be happy because everybody is like caught up in this rat race where we are always like chasing the
We have to earn a certain
we're
way.
struggling to make ends meet basically.
I mean, I think there needs to be a balance, and also we are not calling for a very relaxed, chill
for
kind of
sure.
society. I want rigor because I think only rigor produces the kind of people that we need to be. It's a tough world that we are in. There are no doubts about that. But I think you cannot chong and then forget to take care of yourself. There must also be policies to make sure that while the people chong, they can also take care of themselves.
And I think it's a message that I think resonates with a lot of people. And I feel also like for you guys, don't feel ashamed that like you're only like finding out more about this now because I think a lot of viewers are also the same. And so again, thanks so much for joining us.
By the way, your daughter,
we just found out something.
Shout out to your daughter. She's saying that your MBTI is ENFP.
Wow!
Hey, seriously! Campaigner! Let's go!
He's a campaigner. It's perfect for the
I don't
election.
understand what is that. What is that?
You never tried before?
It's just
You never tried?
pseudoscience, bro.
What?
You never checked before your MBTI.
What is that?
Okay.
Oh my god!
It's the Myers-Briggs personality test. It was this thing that was cooked up by a couple of psychologists a long time ago with a lot of debunked science.
Okay.
And a lot of people have now attached their hopes and dreams to this. How many questions are there on it? As an expert?
Depends on the test.
A lot.
A lot.
Okay, I think it's about
At
40.
least 10 minutes time.
You need 10 minutes to sit
Yeah.
and do
More
this
than
quiz.
that, I think she's.
But your daughter,
I shall
shut
do
up.
later.
Anyway, your daughter, thanks very
She
much.
clarified.
I mean, my daughter lives in the UK.
Oh.
She's married to a Canadian. She has.
International.
I have a grandson from my daughter. I'm asking her to come back, and she don't want to come back. So because it's so, like you said, so stressful in Singapore, right? It's such a transactional society. So I'm hoping that if elected, I can help to remake Singapore to be a less stressful society. And in a way, I can coax my daughter to come back. Nobody likes to stay away from their own children, I know. And
That's true. So when we speak to a lot of opposition parties, right, something that they've all like found in common as a difficulty is actually recruitment. But something that we noticed is that RDU went from contesting in one GRC to now what MediaCorp defined as one of the largest 5 parties in Singapore because you guys are contesting for 15 seats.
Yeah.
How did that come about?
Well, Prime Minister Lawrence Wong gave a shout out for us. He said that the second biggest opposition party in Singapore, from the number of candidates that I fielded. But we have good people. As a party, we have grown from 11-member party to 200, 250 people helping us in different areas.
In 5 years?
In
Since
5
last
years,
GE.
since last GE.
That's massive ramp up. And when you hear numbers like that, right, you start to think, how is your vetting? How is your recruitment process?
Well, a lot of them are young people who bring their friends to come join us. So that's how we grew. I mean,
So there will be volunteers lah.
there'll be
basically.
volunteers. I mean, different people do different things. Not all 200, 250 of them are on the ground. We have a comms team. Some people prefer to work behind a computer. Like I said, we have somebody in my team who is a PhD holder. Well, we are fielding 2 PhD holders in this election, but we have others who are PhD holders who I bring for walkabouts, and they will tell me, "Ayo, Ravi, I want to pingsan lah. Don't let me to meet people." So they are very comfortable sitting behind a computer.
Introverts.
Keyboard warrior,
She's
keyboard warrior.
an expert in the NFPT.
Yep, that's the one.
But how do you choose who to step up?
Well, we have a very democratic process. 2 years ago we started. We asked people to apply if they want to be a candidate. Then they go through an interview process, and then they go through a training. All the candidates that were fielded here, they go through a training period, and then during the training period, they decide and we can decide whether they are suitable or fit to be a candidate or not fit to be a candidate. If you're not fit to be a candidate, doesn't mean that you're not a good human being. You are.
Yep.
You could probably be, but just that, like I said, earlier, that I'm in a state of trance. Not really a trance, but because there are so many things that you're thinking about. There are administrative things that you need to comply with. You get fined, actually, really fined if your poster drops down. You tie it on the lamppost, right? And then sometimes when it rains, the poster do get down.
Yeah.
And when it's below 2.4 meters, you
So
get
specific.
fined $50 for every poster every day.
Wait, why?
Yeah.
But why though? If it just drops down, it's still on the lamppost, right?
It's
but
still
it's
on the
not your fault,
lamppost, but it needs to be at a certain level,
Oh, why?
Yeah, it's not your fault that the thing dropped.
but so the ELD is also very fair. They give us a call and they tell us that, hey, go fix
So
this
I-
within 3 hours.
yeah,
and give it
I-
to us.
Oh,
You have 3 hours to correct
to
the
fix
thing
it.
lah.
Yeah, why is it below
keeps raining?
2.4 meters and then
No, but
there's a
why
$50
it keeps
fine?
raining.
Can I ask my question first or not? You every time cut me.
No, I'm very curious.
Yeah, 2.4 meters. I think because most people are, I'm guessing, because most people are 2 meters tall, right, so won't hit you and all that. So I understand the reason
hazard,
for
you mean
it.
the
Yeah,
most- okay.
I understand the reason for it, but
Even they argue.
Yeah,
They've been waiting to
My
argue.
friend over there, hazard. What is hazard?
It's very parliamentarian.
Do you have a problem right now? We got a very important person right here. That
From
we,
our guests.
oh my god, you are
Very
starting the thing.
respect our guests.
Sorry, sir, that we are bothering you. Yeah, so you can continue.
I am interested to find out. So you mentioned about training period, was it, and that you are looking out for certain things, right?
Yeah.
What is that training period, and what are you looking out for?
well, the different things that they train for, right? I'm very particular in how we present ourselves.
Okay.
Like when you look at Red Dot United, we are all tucked in. We button up right to the top. Because we think that we need to project a right image. If you're asking people to elect us, right, then you need to demonstrate to the people that you are serious, that you're electable. And I think how you dress tells the people. I think most people, a lot of people, I think you will think as well, that to be electable, you need to make great speeches, go on the round table and debate one another. But I tell you, the real way to win an election, in my opinion, I may be wrong, I think is every voter gives you 30 seconds to decide whether he can give you the vote or not.
Wow.
So he says that, look at the person, say, okay lah, I think this girl, okay lah, I can give her my vote. Or this man, okay lah, this woman is okay lah, I can give her my vote.
Right.
So I think
image,
the image. So
First
the first impression. So the 30 seconds, 1 minute is very important, right? So which is why I emphasize that everybody be dressed in a certain way. So I actually do tell people, tuck in your shirt.
Wow.
Oh, like my
your
last time in
shirt.
school, the prefect.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So because it's part of the culture that we're trying to build.
Yeah.
It's not we are not having a party by the beach, right? We mean serious business. We talk about serious issues. So, like I said, I have a a member who's a billionaire, right? And he always comes in a crew neck t-shirt. And then he looks at me, oh, Ravi, you look so stuffed, man. Are you okay behind that?
The billionaires are like that.
Yeah.
Their
So I
t-shirts.
said that there will come a day when I will dress like you. You know, who's the founder of Facebook?
Zuckerberg.
Mark Zuckerberg can afford to come in crew necks. You know,
Yeah.
Steve Jobs can afford to do things like that.
Turtlenecks, yeah.
Because the crew neck for them is a sign of authority, right? It's a sign that they have made it in life, you know, but
This is correct.
not.
I think so.
It is a crooner. I can
made it
afford
like-
it because that's all I have. Not because I'm rich.
If you're the crew neck in a room full of suits,
Yeah.
you're the
That's a
boss.
different
You're
job.
the-
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. So I think, the reason why Gandhi took off all his clothes and put on a white cloth over him, I think, and why Mao Zedong wear the kipao, is it? The
the male
Chinese
version, what's it
dress.
called?
No,
Okay.
No idea, boys?
go on.
We are not cultured enough. We're so sorry.
Yeah. So you know
traditional
the right.
shirt.
Yeah.
Uniform is very much a part of politics. You know, it speaks about politics. You know, so I think it's very important how we dress ourselves, especially when we are going to the people and asking them for their votes. And that is, we are actually asking the people to trust us.
Yeah.
If we don't present ourselves in a way where people can trust us, why should anyone give us their votes? I think that's a very important question everybody needs to ask.
I do want to, maybe not on this topic, but just something just occurred to me is because I'm recently moved into what is now Jurong East Bukit Batok. So I don't, very recently, so I haven't actually met any of the people on the ground.
Sure.
I was just thinking, you guys fielded your candidates, here and also in, you were thinking of contesting Jalan Kayu at some point, and then when Workers' Party mentioned they wanted to go there, you pulled your people out. Do you think some people, and I've heard this said before, is that, it shows that you're not truly committed to that spot if you're willing to get out of there?
Right.
I think I beg to differ. I think we are not committed to the spot. We are committed to the people. And for me, the question always is, I know that some people, I think Viswa Sadasivan, he had an interview with me some time ago. He said that I was a weak leader. Perhaps Singapore needs weak leaders like me. You don't need a Lee Kuan Yew. I mean, what he means, he comes from a generation of Lee Kuan Yew. I don't want to be a Lee Kuan Yew. I want to be Ravi Philemon. Now, when the crunch time comes, when I need to make decisions, people who know me, that I will make the decisions, and the buck stops with me. But as a leader, I want to listen to all voices, even the smallest voices. I want to include and incorporate these voices into the decisions that I make. If that makes me a weak leader, not like Lee Kuan Yew, so be it. I don't want to be another Lee Kuan Yew. I want to be Ravi Philemon. I think Singapore can be kinder, it can be more gracious, and I think it needs to start with me. Right. And so what's your question again?
No, I think you pretty much as in just your idea of if I put people somewhere, I make them work the ground, they learn to know about the residents, their needs. And then actually I'm like, okay, there's a political decision to be made. I don't want to fight with another opposition.
Right.
So I'm taking away this member. And I think it was Miss Kala who was working the ground on Jalan Kayu. And she must have felt bad, right?
She's a fantastic candidate. She still is my candidate, but I've put her in another SMC. So that's who we are, right? We are a team. There are no divas in RDU. Someone mentioned it, I think, in one of the comments in social media. Because if you noticed, on nomination day, we're all given a few minutes to make a speech.
Yeah.
And the speech that was made in Jurong Central SMC, the speech that was made in JEBB, the speech that was made in Holland Bukit Timah, and in Nisun GRC were all the same speech. So people spliced what we were saying.
We saw, YOLO had a
And one of the comments that someone made was, wow, they are one mean fighting machine. That's what we want people to view us as.
Right.
We are not individuals. We are an organization. We mean business. And we mean business because it is a heavy responsibility to take care of Singaporeans. And we want to do right by our people, our citizens.
Okay, something that we've been doing on the show is that we've been asking our guest candidates to pass a question on to the next one. And so the previous guest candidate that we had on, which was SDA's Desmond, we actually asked him a question for you.
Okay.
And it was actually quite related to Raja's question. What is your position on opposition unity?
I think for my position on opposition unity is Singapore is a very small, fragmented society, right? I mean, if you watched yesterday's roundtable, CNA roundtable, Chee Hong Tat was trying to broad stroke the entire opposition as one. And I think that doesn't do any favors to the players who are in the opposition field. I think Red Dot United has tried to differentiate ourselves as have the other opposition parties, be it the Workers' Party or the PSP or whatever. So it doesn't help anyone to broad stroke the opposition. We are not the PAP versus the opposition. The contest is always the PAP versus the Red Dot United, the PAP versus the Workers' Party, or whatever it is. So, which is why I think I take pain to project RDU as a responsible, credible, trustable opposition party that the people can trust. We are never angry. So I told you that we don't take an adversarial stance. It is part of the brand that we are trying to build as well. That's how I think we need to stand out. We are guided by the young people who are with us, who don't like all this adversarial stance, right? They prefer to talk. You can agree to disagree and all that, but they don't like, cross-examining,
And sorry, something you just said. I wanna disagree with you, but I want you to clarify before that. What do you mean by fragmented? Before I say it.
I think, like I said, there are different ideas, different ideologies, and different ways of doing things. I mean, some people, for example, may think that we just need to hit the ground, don't need online presence, we don't need to put out policy papers all the time. I differ from that. Okay. I think we need to be engaged on the issues of the day. I think we need to talk about the issues of the day. If you get into trouble for it, so be it, but we try to avoid the POFMA and the lawsuits because there's a lot of fear in Singapore. If you are involved with the opposition, there is a lot of fear that it'll affect your career, it'll affect your livelihood, it'll affect your families and all that. A lot of this is unfounded, really, because my son has been involved in a not-for-profit organization in which Mr. Shanmugam is the patron.
Oh. Become full circle because you're going into the Nee Soon.
He has been promoted 3 times in the 5 years that he has been with them, and he has not been discriminated just because he's my son, and there are other people. Like Paul Tambaya will tell you that how he has been promoted to professor with tenure, right? Exactly. After he got involved with SDP. So I think the fear factor is self-induced. Yep. So guys, if you're watching this, remember there's no fear factor. You feel free to associate yourself with an opposition party, and since I'm from Red Dot United, feel free to come join us.
No, that's a fantastic recruitment plug.
You will hire guys with tattoos.
Of course, yes.
Yes. Not discriminatory.
Just now you said something about first impression, the face, right? Can you try giving us a first impression electoral face?
Oh, I don't know. Ravi, your impression?
Take as a sec gen.
Cannot make it.
Oh man, hey.
What face? This one.
Why?
Maybe
You never smile. Try smile. Try smile.
Yeah. That's too much smiling already.
Cannot be. It's politics, bro. It's gotta be perfect. Right?
That's why I'm not into politics.
You smile like that, deposit gone.
Actually, speaking of this, right? Because you mentioned again, like there were some candidates that you rejected, even though they were like good people. What were some reasons like you rejected them?
I mean, sometimes people are quirky when they meet people. People will do like this when they give you the flyer. You can't lie. You can't lie.
Okay. Like not brave enough to engage, lah.
Yeah.
And so okay.
My friend here will threaten people when he give flyer.
Don't take it.
No.
Debt collector. I want to get from you because I am aware of your 2020s GE's RDU's involvement in it. What were like a couple of lessons that you took away from that you're able to implement this time around? Because growth is
a lot. Like people who know me know that I have a plan A, plan B, plan C, even a plan D sometimes, right? So you learn how to be prepared. You learn what are the things you need to get like the video. If we talk just about comms, right? You need to cut the videos, make sure that you have the profiles of the candidates ready. When do this profile go out? So there are many different things that you need to know, and you will never know these things unless you contest an election. So contesting the 2015 GE and the 2020 GE was very important to me. It was an eye-opener for me because before the 2020 GE, I was more of an activist. I was already involved in the socio-political scene in Singapore, but I was more of an activist, and as an activist, you don't need to care about anybody else. Right? You are concerned about the cause. The cause is the most important thing. But as a politician or a political party, of course the cause is important, but so are the people. How do you present the cause to the people so that the people accept the cause and what you're championing for? I think that's important. And that's something that I learned from contesting the 2015 and 2020 GE.
Okay, something else also that we've noticed is that there was quite a bit of avoidance of multi-cornered fight. How much of coordination was required to make that happen?
A lot. So for me, I reach across the lines. People know me that it doesn't matter if you're the PAP or the Workers' Party or PSP or whatever other party. I believe in friendship. I think friendship solves a lot of problems. We don't always have to negotiate. We don't always need to have a hard bargaining in sitting in front of a table. I think friendship helps to soften the ground and helps to have us a proper conversation. So that's how we reached out to most of the other opposition parties. Even for Jalan Kayu, we were able to have that conversation with the WP leadership because we had friendship. Right. So that's how I personally choose to.
Right.
So then how does it feel that Marine Parade Braddell Heights was a walkover?
Well, we didn't ask about Marine Parade Braddell Heights because we had assumed that the Workers' Party would contest there. I think it's there. There are absolutely no questions that the people needed fair representation in Parliament. There are no questions on that. But I think after hearing what the Workers' Party had to say, the reasons, I can totally understand. They are fairly, in the scheme of things, they may be the biggest opposition party in Singapore, but in the scheme of things, they are still a small opposition party. They need to see where they can put their people, their resources at. So I totally understand.
And if you had been aware that they had no plans to field a team there, would RDU maybe have fielded any candidate?
Of course. We have, like I've said in some of my interviews, we have enough candidates even to field in another GRC. But I think this time around we limited ourselves to 15 candidates in the four constituencies because we didn't want to overstretch ourselves. And if you looked at the map, right, Jurong Central, JEBB, Holland Bukit Timah and Nee Soon, it comes in one stretch. So it's very easy to coordinate administration and logistics. But we would have been happy.
There is something to be said for if you are able to feel at last minute, maybe you haven't had a chance to understand that specific areas, issues, needs and problems. So for instance, in our chat, we have an Alyssa who wants to know, what is RDU's plan for Holland Bukit Timah, like at a municipal level?
Well, we came out with a town council management plan, which sort of like is our Bible to help us manage town councils. And that was not produced easily. We took about 2.5 years to put that together, to listen to people's feedback. We also listened to the former and current MPs to see what the people's concerns were before we came out with that plan. Of course, it needs to be adapted to the different constituencies that we're in. I'll be very honest with all the voters that we don't know Holland Bukit Timah as well as we know JEBB and Jurong Central and Nee Soon GRC, right? Because we only went into that constituency. Like I said, we're always having conversation. I believe in friendship, and when we knew that SDP was not going into that constituency, we had a conversation with the leadership of the SDP, and we went into Holland Bukit Timah. Holland Bukit Timah is also a very big constituency.
Yeah.
The most daunting part is 60% of the constituency, they live in private property.
Yeah.
So, but our promise has always been consistent. In 2020, when we contested the Jurong GRC, we told them that it's a very short period of time, but in the next 5 years, we'll try to get to know each and every one of you. And we did that. There were 5 teams walking the ground every week, meeting residents, taking down their names, see where we can. So that's what we promised in all the constituencies that we're engaged in, that even if you're not able to meet you, I mean, like Nisun, for example, right? There are 151,000 plus voters.
Right.
How do you meet 151,000 voters? It's impossible. But my promise is in the next 5 years, I will get to meet or try to get to meet each and every one of you at least once.
Right.
Yeah.
And can I be a little selfish?
Please.
Is there something in particular for JEBB that you're thinking, like if you get elected there, is there something at a town council level that you will improve or some infrastructure
Jurong
issue
East,
there?
Bukit Batok, if you guys are one.
Yeah, Jurong East, Bukit Batok. My area, I'm very selfish. Sorry, I'm just going to be me. Okay.
I mean, of course, there are always concerns about the sheltered walkway, right? Everybody wants a sheltered.
What's with this obsession?
Everyone talking about shelter walkways. Even Kang Kim.
Easy to bring umbrella ma.
Exactly. Yeah. So sometimes you forget to bring the umbrella. So I totally understand, right? So one of the biggest concerns that people have is that they don't have sheltered walkway in their building. Right? So we are not saying that we will build more sheltered walkways.
Yeah.
No, but there are sheltered walkways that don't go the distance. So we need to fix that. But I think as much as people need sheltered walkways to shelter them from the thunderstorms that comes, we also need a covered walkway from the storms that life bring to us.
Wow. That's totally campaigning.
So I'm gonna say, by the way, I noticed this at a rally as well. I want to give you props for that because your lightning alert one was really good. The crowd really should react to that. That was really well done.
Thank you.
Fantastic. Something that you just brought up that actually I realized was that actually when a particular GRC is full of landed property, when you want to go to resident, it's so much harder than if it's a high rise.
It's so much harder. I tell you that when we go to a landed property, we press the bell. Sometimes the dog comes barking at you. And then very often we don't get to meet the owners of the house. Very often it's the helper who comes out to meet you. So it's a bit more tougher to meet residents in landed property, but we'll try. We'll give it our best shot.
Okay, I mean, earlier I brought up multi-corner fights. I think there was a bit of drama. I don't know how much you want to lift the lid on, but RDU left the coalition, I think over a disagreement over multi-corner fights. What really happened there?
Well, the main reason is we felt that GE2025 was important for the opposition to be united. There's a lot at stake. The issues are there. The main issue is, of course, how much money you have in your pocket or don't have in your pocket. And there were many other issues. I mean, for example, the ride-out bungalow issue where Ministers Vivian and Minister Shanmugam, they came, they cleared the air and everything was sorted out. They said that, it was said that it's all legally right, no laws were breached and all that. That's fair and fine, but there's something that's, I think these are issues we still need to talk about. I mean, when we say we need to talk about it, it doesn't actually mean the black and white bungalow. But the question is, why do some people get to live in houses that are 3, 4, 5 times the size of soccer fields, whereas our HDB flats are getting smaller and smaller while we are paying more and more for it? And why does it need to depreciate to $0 at the end of 99 years? So these are the kind of questions that we want to ask, right? And of course, there are many other issues. So it's not a politics of envy. It's about equity and equality, that we're talking about. And there are many other issues, like we know the not so good things that went on with the former Speaker of Parliament and the former MP who had to resign. We don't want to interfere in the private lives and the affairs of people. I think that's not who RDU is. But there are important questions to ask in that as well, because it seems that the Prime Minister then Mr. Lee Hsien Loong, knew about this years before it was made public to us. Why this secrecy from the voters? I think these are important questions of accountability, important questions of transparency, which we needed to bring out in this election. And we felt that in order to have this conversation with the public at this point in time, opposition unity is important because we cannot be seen to be fighting each other. Because you can see in the multi-cornered fights that we are having in Tampines, for example, right? Some candidates have been saying, oh, these guys are not good or that guys are not good. So I think for me, there's only one political opponent.
Okay.
That is the PAP. And I think that principle was breached when we were in the coalition. We tried talking, it didn't work. Or at least we felt that it wasn't going anywhere. So which is why we decided to leave the coalition.
Speaking of opposition unity, you just brought it up. That was a question that we had from SDA to you. We are going to have SDP on very, very shortly. Do you have a question that we can pose to them?
Well, I think... that's a tough one. Question.
We thought
agree, by the way. Every time we ask a politician this, they immediately go, "This is the tough question."
It is. I tell you why. Because Dr. Chi, to me, is a guiding light. Right? He has been in the ecosystem for a very long time, and I come from a certain generation where he was characterized in a certain manner. And I have to be very frank that I believed that characterization. And then it took me a period of time before I really got to know him. And that happened after I came back from the US. I was attending a candlelight vigil where Dr. Chi was a speaker. And at the end of the candlelight, I went up to him and I spoke to him. And I expected him to talk to me hard politics. He did not. He spoke about the faith that we both had in common. And I went back thinking, wow, he's a normal human being, he's not a megalomaniac like what the media painted him to be, So I got to know him better from that. So I think it's tough because I do put Dr. Chi on a pedestal. And the one question that I would ask him, it could be a tough question, but I still would ask
Go for it.
Is how is he going to deal with the fallout from 2 days ago when one of his own candidates was called a racial slur by another candidate. Of course, it's unfortunate. Sometimes people do get carried away in the spur of the moment. They say things that they should not say. It has happened to us It has happened to us in our last rally as well. But if the media had not picked it up, I don't want to talk about it.
Well, now that you said that, but thanks. I think that was
Yeah, that's right. Just one last thing, as voters head to the ballot boxes, what's a message that you have for them?
I think the only message is you're not voting for RDU, you're not voting for the PAP, you're voting for yourself. So the issues are clear right before you. So you decide who is the team that will be best able to represent you. People who sit in ivory towers, who don't have windows and who have made life that much more difficult for the ordinary Singaporeans in the past 5 years, or people who feel with you and who are in the same boat as you and who want to be your voice in Parliament to make sure that you have the best deal in what Singapore has got to offer. So I think that's where RDU stands. So if you think that RDU fits that bill, if you think that when in voting for RDU, you're voting for yourself, then please do give us your votes.
Thank you so much for your time, everyone. Ravi Philemon from RDU. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, guys, it is time for our second set of guest candidates from the Singapore Democratic Party contesting at Sembawang GRC. Please welcome James and Alfred as they slowly make their way. They're all saying hi to Ravi. Welcome, welcome. I understand that you guys rushed all the way down from a rally. Thank you so much for making the time. If you guys couldn't see, we were basically on our laptops figuring out what their ETA was, and then it was supposed to be 9, and then it got dragged. So thank you so much for being able to make yourself here.
Okay. Get real up close.
You guys feeling okay? Managed to settle? We heard that you guys rushed down from a rally. How was it?
was good. It was good. It's Monday night, you know.
I cannot tell you the speed I was doing, but yeah. I got here safe.
All within limits, I assure you.
Okay. So I mean, we do want to jump into policy chat and to get to know you guys a little bit more. But I think something that has been asked many times in our community as well as by viewers is of course recent headlines that the party made recently 2 days ago. A candidate of yours used a racial slur to describe a fellow candidate, not knowing its significance, but she shortly made an apology, and I think the next night's rally involved statements from various members. Just wanted to find out how has the last few days been from the party's point of view.
I mean, I Kong Hokkien way, Xiu Sim Sampo. My Lon Wang Kong.
Your Hokkien is way better than mine.
I don't even understand Hokkien.
There you go.
Sorry, could you please for me translate?
All I said was, if you want to speak Hokkien, be careful. Okay. Be mindful. Don't shoot your mouth off.
It's like, yeah.
My Lon Wang Kong.
How's party morale? Does it feel like it's been satisfactorily?
It's great. It's great. I mean, the apology was sincere and classic. Straight to the point, and I think that's what people appreciated. We caught the issue by the tail, apologized, and the crowd was just saying, "Move on." Yeah.
Which actually I wanted to get to that because as we were watching it on the live stream, as Irwin was making his speech, we could audibly hear a gentleman shouting, "Move on, move on." And at least to the viewer, it felt a bit uncomfortable because it felt like, oh, this was something that needed to be dealt with. But maybe there is a generation who feels like this was all overblown. My question is, how do you reach out to that voter base without alienating them at the same time?
Which voter base?
So I mean, the assumption is that there is an older generation who maybe feels that all of this was overblown.
I think the voters, depending on any demographic, right, across the board, I think the key issue is really the rising cost of living.
Okay.
So whether you're young, you're old, middle-aged, you all feel the pinch of, the cost of living. I think how you segregate the different age segments is really the medium through which you reach them. Right? So extremely older folks, they still appreciate, the house visit, if you can, Yo Kong Kui Ku Hokkien way.
Your Hokkien's very good.
Yeah. So those are the things, right? Then it endears you to them. I mean, you want to get the young crowd, you be on Insta, Facebook is still, kind of the middle-aged, slightly older crowd, then who watches TV, right? Yeah. So that kind of stuff. Hey, your show, I mean, you guys on Insta, right? So for us being here is also part of trying to reach out to a different segment. But the issues are the same.
So yeah, I was about to ask, so the platforms differ, but do you find yourself like changing a little bit of the messaging when it's young versus old?
I think the medium kind of pushes you onto that, there are people who still like reading the text form, even then you got to adjust it. We got a ballpark number of 650 to 800 words. So, people like to read long posts. That's how you go. I mean, the dimension for pictures or tiles for Facebook and Insta are different. God forbid, it requires an extra bit of work. Videos, horizontal, vertical, TikTok. Hey, I mean, I do the portrait size because, hey, I can get it on Reels as well, right? Yeah. So, but if you want to do serious messaging, the landscape size is preferred. So that those are the considerations. Yeah.
Okay. Let's jump into policy. I think our comment section also is growing a little bit impatient, hoping that we talk a bit about policy. A part of the manifesto that we read is proposing to use an alternative measure for national success, right? So instead of using GDP, I think you guys are proposing GPI. For those who maybe are not familiar, would you be able to explain the differences between GPI and GDP?
Okay, so
Let me get this mic close to you, sir.
Yeah.
They want to hear you.
Yeah.
I'm not familiar. Can I explain?
Have you heard of GPI before?
GDP, GPI, I'm just
Lost.
Okay, there you go.
Okay,
exactly
so
the
it's-
electorate.
I'm like the youngins, like the young people trying to know more.
Yeah. Well, it's actually, we call it a genuine progress index. I mean, GPI, whatever you're gonna package, that's packaging. But what it is actually a balanced scorecard.
Okay.
All right. So you're looking at various aspects of success, and success to society is pretty different from, say, success to a corporation. So we're talking about society, a country, right? If you are in a successful country, if you're a successful community, what does that look like? Oh, sorry.
No worries.
So is it just GDP, which is we really think is pretty one-dimensional? You're just measuring economic progress. Does that cover what you think success life is? So in that balanced scorecard, we'll talk about how happy you are. All right. We could say, for example, our families are all getting smaller and smaller. I would rather the country, our TFR is not getting great. No, maybe one of the measures is actually to plug that in, right? So it's a lot more complete emotional wellness. We can put in the environmental wellness. It really depends how we want to define how successful our society, our community wants to be.
Right, because GDP, for example, could be spending on weapons and defense, and is that really related to happiness, for example? One thing that I read, though, is that one key challenge of GPI is actually measuring some of the things that you mentioned. How do you measure how happy someone is?
Yeah, so it's just like balanced scorecards. There are many ways to do it, right? So in a corporate world, balanced scorecards, you can do polls, you can do the various indexes, voice of your customers, voice of your employees. Yeah, so we could do polls. So for example, we talk about TFR, you can see how the TFR has been improving.
TFR for maybe those who don't know.
Yeah,
Okay.
I don't know.
All right. Well, you got to do your part. Get the country's fertility rate up so that we can replace
Making babies.
ourselves.
Making babies.
Total fertility
Not really. Not really.
Contribute or do your part.
I will, but not yet lah. You know what I mean?
Okay. Yeah. So what we're looking at is, as a community, as a nation, all right. How do we want to define success? So that's really up to, at that point in time, how we want to put the parameters together.
Yeah, you can take an actuarial approach, calculate until kingdom come, and in Singapore we have a culture of calculation, right? You calculate this, you make so much with crypto, you calculate this is how you can, game the system. So we have a very cultural, actuarial culture here.
Like financial lah.
Yeah. But at the same time, if you talk to a young person, who's recently graduate, hasn't quite got a job, he or she would be thinking about how much money do I have in my pocket? Can I afford, food in an air-conditioned food court? Or even a regular food court? Or should I go just to a convenience store and get a cheap sandwich?
Yeah.
So those are the kind of calculation. Do I tap my, fare card and take the feeder service, or it's not so hot, so I'm happy to walk the kilometer or two to the MRT station. Hey, better yet, maybe get on a bicycle, right? So those are other everyday calculation, including elderly people calculating whether they really want to tap into medical care because it's so expensive. They rather opt out, right? Because I can't afford it. So those are, kind of everyday calculations also that we need to keep in mind.
Okay.
I want to ask about the whole kids thing. Got me thinking about another part of the manifesto.
Yeah.
And I was reading into your manifesto, especially the education portion. I think it was like nearly 100 pages or so on that part, maybe longer. And one of it was something that struck me, and I think a lot of people who read it, scrapping PSLE.
Wild.
The concept of just getting rid of standardized testing is quite wild to most Singaporeans whose lives are defined by testing. And so what other way would we be able to test and gauge our students' education without this sort of testing?
Well, I mean, across, I think this is very well evolved in tertiary education and in countries, especially in the West, where they have, brought that element down also to what, in our terms, pre-university, secondary and primary education. That's how we call it here. To do away with testing, right? So it's just to give you an opportunity to learn, right? So if we bring that forward to PSLE, it's still the same. To remove the stress that leads to mental health issues, to then, remove the barrier but still allow learning to take place without press. Now, this is a global trend, right? Increasingly, there's also a recognition that pedagogically trained instructors may also have limitations, right? So it's like in the media business, right? If you are from a broadsheet or a national broadcaster and you are laid off, and what do you do next? You go teach, right?
Yeah.
And when you teach, the people you teach and graduate will not be getting the jobs in the media because the media is so evolving so fast, right? So in the same way, those who are pedagogically trained in a structured manner also no longer find their place in the learning space. So that's why you have seen already in higher education practitioners, right? I mean, this has been around, you do an MBA, they say it's a practitioner, you go to many, professor of practice, wow. This course is practice-based, right? Now, that's trickling down throughout the whole genre of education. And I think it's just, because we are such a rigid, system, it's just taking longer to reach us, especially the social acceptance of that. But the trend is unreversible.
It's interesting because, I see the merits of it, but I also know that maybe there's a perception of the kiasu parent who is looking for that final score just to know how your kid is doing. So for context, I had the privilege to go to an international school for secondary education, and they did away with Sec 1, Sec 2 end of year exams. And the parents were up in arms. They were like, no, we want to know how our kid is doing. So I'm curious to know how much of it is SDP saying this should be the way forward versus how much of it is concerns that you're hearing from the ground and you're surfacing it.
I think it's a mixture. I think you are right to point out there is a fair number of amount of cultural resistance. When I say culture, what I mean here is general socialization. Not ethnic culture as such, but socialization. I'll give you an anecdotal example, and this is a real life conversation. So I know this Singaporean lady who got married and to someone from Norway, and then went there, had two children, and they were in school. She was not comfortable with the very open, liberal way of education. So once they were getting on to the early teens, she decided, no, I don't want my children to be schooled in this way. So she brought back her children and, put them in the school here in Singapore. And they had some challenges, at least for 1 or 2 years. You can imagine early teens, right? Adjusting to the culture, language, and all of that. So, but above all of that, is what we are experiencing from tertiary right down to the primary, right? It is a parent-led education. I'm sure you have all heard this joke, right? In my days, if I had 95 for a test, I'll get the rap on the knuckle. Where's the other 5 marks? Right? Now you come back with a 95, the teacher gets the rap on the knuckle by the parents.
True.
How come my child didn't get the 5 mark? So this is across the strain, and as someone who also employs young people, I am very, very surprised also that the parents sometimes come and accompany the child for the job interview.
Oh,
yes, right? Yes.
Like for a real job,
Yes.
working.
There was an incident where I went out of the main door of my office, and I noticed an older gentleman hanging around. Wasn't sure who he was, but I knew there was an interview going on.
Right.
Yeah. So when I came back, I saw the gentleman was also kind of, sort of trying to, because there's an open concept of his glass doors looking through. So I asked one of my colleagues, maybe just check. I mean, he doesn't look like the delivery guy,
lost
you know.
it, right?
Yeah, you know. And he said, "Oh, but I thought it was the parent, and lo and behold, it was the parent." So I said, okay, let's get the person in. And so I did my greetings, invited the gentleman to, sit at the reception area. And I was also cheeky, right? So I was saying, I wanted to test this guy. I said, that's your daughter, right? Having the interview. Would you like to sit in? He was processing for about 30 seconds until he saw the sneer in my face. No. No, that's what we are dealing with. Yeah. I don't know.
I thought you have been, he has been a driver for the daughter.
Yeah. But you know, I don't know what's your experience.
No, I mean, I have seen such, but I don't think there are that many.
Oh no,
But
there are
also
not many.
There's a lot about how the family culture is. Right?
Is it a norm these days to have your?
Cannot be what.
Well, I mean, because I deal with a lot of young people.
How young is young? Like 20?
Fresh graduates.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
We are talking about 22 to 25, depending
Ooh, that
on
seems-
whether they do military or
So
otherwise.
the interviewer ask them what are your strengths, then they're like, ask my dad.
Ask my papa first.
Behind.
Well, I think those are different type of question because before they get there, there's skills assessment and all of that. But all I'm trying to say is that kind of parent hand holding, right, is not limited just at the school and the school age, even right up to tertiary. What I'm trying to just suggest to you from experience that it has expanded beyond to their internship phase, because internship is very much of a practice culture that we have, and it's now compulsory for many, many places to do internship. The parents are highly involved in the selection of the. So when we interview both interns and candidate for jobs, right, we also have questions that try to determine how independent they are. Right? Because the parents are interfering at every step of the way, giving counsel, this, that, and the other. So that's what we are dealing with. So I come back to because your question was pedagogical, right? Was teaching, right? So how do we teach, when you have a third leg in the room, right? So it's very different, and I think that's also something to think about.
And how do we, given that we are talking about removing standardized testing, and some would say that is what has kept Singaporean grads at a cutting edge of the world's employees. People like hiring Singaporeans here for jobs because we have a reputation, right? That we're good at something. That's the thing. How does that the idea of removing standardized testing makes me feel like, we're going to lose that edge, the competitive edge. And is that an unfounded fear? Or
Well, you mentioned that that a Singapore graduate is
it's a valued
is
resource.
a special value.
It's valued.
Yeah, it's valued. So I guess no matter how you are trained or which country you are trained, as long as you have certain capabilities, you'll be valued. Now, what I'm trying to get at is, I think the Singapore graduate, when they come out, they're actually competing not only just amongst themselves in Singapore, right? They're actually competing in the rest of the world. I mean, so if you go into multinationals, where we have many in Singapore, because Singapore tend to serve as regional hubs and all that, you'll be competing with people from Hong Kong, or for example, or from their home-based country. So they'll be selecting potential interns, candidates, first-year interns, based on a wider range. They're not so country-centric anymore. So what I'm saying is that the Singapore graduate, when it comes out, they're actually competing with not just the Singapore cohort.
Yeah, just to echo that and just add some nuances there, we are looking at, the complete hire, right? It's a skill, right? There's a skills test, there's a behavioral test, financial quantum test, So that's the competition. So it is just not the test, as you say, the exams, right? It's personality, how much you're asking, how much is enough for you. those are the considerations employees or employers around the world have asked. Right, we're asking is too much beyond what the budget line has been allocated for a particular role. Whoever's whatever the business, just can't hire you. So the Singapore graduate, whether it's IT, whether ITE, Polytechnic, or university, is competing also with foreign labor in Singapore. And that, I think, also adds another dimension, of stress and anxiety that young Singaporeans feel.
Besides education, I think something else that was also a key piece of the manifesto is the NOM, or the non-open market housing, right? I think from what I understand, it is where a new class of flats are basically priced without land cost, and it can only be sold back to the HDB. Why is this, in your opinion, the best way forward to solve housing affordability?
Well, by taking out the land cost, the prices it will definitely be lower, right? I think we estimate about half of it. Well, frankly, it's actually nothing new. Singapore had that before. All right, when you acquire a HDB flat, you stay in it, and when you're done staying, you like to move on, you sell it back to HDB.
Well, understanding that when you sell it back to HDB, it removed the consumed lease essentially.
Well, you also avoid speculation. I mean, right? Okay. So you're going back to the owner, which is HDB, right? So what the non-open market, which is where you cannot resell, but instead you sell back to HDB, all right? You control that speculation part
while keeping an open market.
Yes,
still.
Because this is public funding, all right. So if you want to speculate, go and speculate. There are properties for you, private ones. You think you can make money, go ahead. I think that's fine. Improving one's station is encouraged, right? But don't do it at public expense.
Okay.
Because everybody is putting money into it.
Okay.
Right. So I think that's a basic concept.
Based on that, we had a question from the community. Name I can't really pronounce. Arp Yorashol. But basically the question was, in your housing policy, so the NOM scheme mentioned that the flats would be sold back at purchase price less the consumed lease. How does this scheme help the homeowner move to another if they need to make a top up?
Yep. So there will always be new flats coming up, all right? Because your flat is old, so you want to move to new ones, all right? So there'll be new flats built. Again, the price is without
the land cost.
Yeah. So you can always buy the next one.
But will the cost, let's say I buy this house, right, will the cost depreciate?
No, so it's brand new. If it's a brand new flat, okay, the components that go into the price will be the construction cost. Right, the cost of construction, material, the development cost. What we are taking out will be the land cost. Okay. So over time, I mean, as time goes by, due to inflation and things like that, your construction cost actually changes, right?
Okay, because the feeling is that, say, if I'm buying from non-open market, if I'm buying it for, like, say, $100,000, and then I'm selling it minus the consumed lease, it may be lower than $100,000. Now, if I want to buy a new place, I need a top up. Whereas what we're seeing nowadays is that people are buying a BTO for maybe $300,000. They're selling in the open market for about $600,000. They can then go and buy another $300,000 while having an extra amount of cash.
No, okay, so if you decide to buy the NOM flats, all right, you can only sell back to HDB.
Yeah.
All right, so if you are having an open market flat, which you have today, all right, you can sell it. You can sell it. I mean, this is already grandfathered. Because what in our scheme we provided for people who want to convert.
I see.
Back.
Okay.
All right. And if you want to convert it, convert back. Okay, you have to let it go and buy a new one. Then don't think about speculation. Right? The whole idea is getting the price of housing down.
And people can choose, essentially, whether they want NOM.
Yeah, if you want to.
So there will still be both.
Yeah, there'll be both. So there is still the open market, the usual BTO that you see. You can speculate all you want to have all your fun in there. But don't penalize the rest of taxpayers, right, who has to subsidize your profits.
Okay. Therein lies the second question, which is then doesn't having both create another differentiation of classes between homeowners? Now there is the norm homeowner and the non-norm.
So if if the reality hits, okay, where everybody say, why do I need to pay this amount? All right, soon your open market demand will start dropping because you have cheaper housing, more affordable housing with certain restrictions. All right, you start your family, you don't need to put out so much and then lock down with a long-term debt. All right, and I'm living happy thereafter. What we are seeing is that there will be people then moving, more and more young families buying the norm. The open market ones will be a historical grandfather ones stock that will slowly reduce over time. I think if people want to speculate, okay, the private stock will start to increase.
Okay.
There's this private market that's still there. All right, so you want to speculate, that's fine. I think it's fair. Improve your station in life, that's fine.
Okay. Something that I want to move on to is also healthcare. So when we had Dr. Paul on recently, he briefly discussed his ideas on reforming healthcare, and I believe it's a single-payer healthcare model. A question that we had from one of our readers is how can we execute it differently from other countries who've tried it? And when we see those different countries, they tend to have certain like bottlenecks, long queues. How can we execute it in a way that's more efficient?
Yep. I think Paul has mentioned, there are basically three factors. You can have it speed, or you have it competence, capabilities. What's the third one? Okay, so the thing is that the thing is that you cannot have all three arms. All right. So if you want to access the public system, something has to give way. One of the three arms has to give way. So if you want cheaper pricing, price, for example, then what you may have to expect is a bit longer wait. Right? Your competence may... I don't think the competence will drop. Because again, this system, this single payer, has been around. Okay, it's just that in the 80s it got converted out. So now we're just trying to bring back what was doing well. Same thing with the flats, right?
Yeah.
It was okay. Then we went privatized in the 80s because that's when the Reagan, the Thatcher fund came in.
I see. Yeah.
Right. So everything got privatized. But previously they were all seen as public good. Right. Healthcare is a public good. Whereas a public good is just like the fireman, policeman, security is paid by the state because through taxpayers. So what we are saying is it's healthcare. Like nobody volunteered to be sick. Nobody wants to be sick. If you are sick, okay, we think it's not good if due to the illness you get bankrupted and you're done for life. I mean, that's not fair. Okay, we can all chip in because they're all in the same community.
Something that I've realized is that, at least in recent memory, the SDP manifestos and slogans tend to be very, very catchy. I believe the last one was like 4 yeses and 1 no. And this year, as repeated in many, many times subtly, it features thrive, not just survive. And the thrive itself is an acronym. How do these things come about? Is it a committee coming together? Is it Dr. Cheat? Like some imagine. How do these slogans
Singapore
come about?
Democratic Party.
So it's democratic.
Very democratic. We got everybody in the room over a few sessions, and every time it's like, okay, what are good suggestions?
Yeah.
And we just get a few names. Get a few slogans brought up.
Yeah.
That's it.
But I assume you want to know a little bit about the behind the scenes, right?
Yes,
so we have a
please.
suite of policies, right? Whether it's housing, transport, and we spoke education and all of that. They all have a particular position, right? Which is essentially looking at the gaps, including minimum wage, right? So how does the policy, and we have a dedicated policy unit of which I'm also a part of.
The deputy head of policy. Yeah.
Yes. But what we do actually is to monitor the shifts in the policy. So while we may have, a minimum wage policy, the minimum wage policy is also either annually or every 2 years, because we do that across the range of the policy, is calibrated. So the minimum wage that we propose, let's say, 10 years ago, will be calibrated up, to meet, because essentially what we want to do is to provide a living wage, right? So that's how policy revision works, at the SDP. So when we do that and we are gearing up towards an election, season, then, there is a more active range of policy updates and nuances. I'll just give you an example because we are just coming fresh from the rally. Today we launched a policy brief, which is a supplementary document to our healthcare paper.
Okay.
All right. And that policy brief was specifically on mental health. Right. And what is the nub of the argument of that policy brief? Essentially, mental health in Singapore is not mainstreamed. If we talk about mental health in Singapore, even from my parents' time, it is the IMH, right? Institute of Mental Health. That's the thing. If you are experienced enough and if you investigate it, you will find mental health facilities, private clinics and counseling are available. They are a very, very large space, but it's a private and it's very expensive. So the gap in Singapore is mental health facilities are not mainstreamed into the national healthcare system, like in Australia or in the UK. Yep. And that's what the SDP is proposing. There are some moves because the mental health issue is very strong, very significant, because it's triggered by 5 key elements. Unfettered immigration, which has led to intense job competition, a lot of cyberbullying online, and then you have a few other issues, right? High cost of living, and then also the stress from caregiving. So these 5 elements impact the mental health of 3 component groups: the working age adult, the young people, and women. Because women have a headed burden of a home caretaker, a caregiver, and so on and so forth. So their burden is extreme. And everybody is unpaid to a large extent, right? So what we have is, just a ballpark, right? We all have over 100 private clinics that provide mental health care. But polyclinics, there's only 22. So you see the vast gap.
Right.
And there are over 150 registered counseling services in the private sector. So ordinary people cannot afford it. That is the Singapore problem.
Right.
And because with overpopulation and all that, the stress level is so high, the gap is they are saying, we shouldn't be spending money on curative approach. That means, giving you medicine, giving you therapy and all that. We should take care on preventive approach, right? It's too late.
Right.
The horse has left the stable.
Yeah,
right?
too little too.
Yeah. So that's what. So just coming back to your background question, to get an insight into how policies are formulated. So we have this comprehensive national health, but time to time we pull out a slither and put out a policy brief, like the way we launched it today.
Well, I think you've spoken a lot about that one's pretty. That one's pretty tough. Plenty of people nowadays with mental health issues, and you've spoken about a lot of fundamental, I think, voting issues. If there's one thing, because I think viewers are getting close to bedtime as well.
Sure.
If there's one message you want to leave voters with, of the entire electorate with, what would it be?
Well, this is what we hear, right? Voters want strong, credible opposition with a track record. They want to see you meet and greet, get onto the house. They want to know you have good alternative policies. You have the people, you have the numbers. That, for example, this is election season, right? They are looking for what is your ratio of volunteers per candidate, right? Are your posters up on time?
Wow.
Right? What size are your posters? Right? Are you organizing rallies? what is your crown turn up? Because, the SDP has rallies every day, including at lunchtime. We pump up the jam. So for us, that's what we hear. SDP is contesting in Sembawang GRC, and both of us are from Sembawang GRC because the residents wanted us to come. They wanted a strong opposition, right? In Sembawang, we have been there for 20 years. We contested in 2006, 2011. In 11, I was part of the candidate. And what happened? People don't talk about it. A big chunk of Sembawang was carved away to create the new Marsiling UT. So SDP made a decision then, right? Okay, Sembawang is literally chopped away, right? Okay, we'll go to the new area, right? And we contested another 10 years. We were always there. And then along the way, Sembawang was nibbled further into Nisun. Some of it came back to Marsiling. Some of it went from Marsiling to Sembawang. So there was a crisscross, including families. So when we were doing our groundwork, right, we were crisscrossing all the time. And then we hear from the residents, hey, SDP, why don't you come? We need a strong opposition here, right? So when we hear this clarion call, right, bo pian na, yao zhou lang la. So we go. So to us, and I'll address the elephant in the room, right? Three-corner fight? What three-corner fight? We don't feel it.
Wow.
Okay.
We don't feel it.
Shots fired.
Right.
I love it. And we've also and we've come full circle.
Already.
We started with Hokkien and we've ended with Hokkien. But again, thank you so much for rushing down, for making this interview. We really, really appreciate it, and also taking the time to explain SDP's position. Thank you so much, James and Alfred.
Thanks.
Happy to be here. Thank you.
All right. So we're going to just have maybe a couple of minutes just to understand, wrap up with some of the boys. Thank you so much, guys, for being here.
Thank you.
You guys can take your leave.
Good luck for the rally tomorrow.
Thank you. All the best for your elections.
Good night. Thank you very much.
Just before we end tonight, just one last question for you guys. How was that? You said that you finally feel enlightened and sunny.
Yeah, very, very, very enlightened. Actually,
I'm quite.
yeah. Why you always have to cut me again? I don't understand.
I'm. Okay, say.
Ladies first.
Say.
No, please, ladies.
Say.
No, I
Okay, so I really came here quite empty-minded, without knowing much of the politics, and I really can see from these two opposition teams, they both have their different ways of how they want to build Singapore differently.
Yeah.
I think, but I came to an understanding that they both, at the end of the day, they want Singapore to be better, right?
Yeah. It's true. Yeah, the message that at the end of the day, we're all patriots. That's all. We just want to see Singapore change in different ways.
Yeah.
By the end of the day, we just want the best for Singapore.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so that you Lukey has his own time to shine.
Yeah.
Know your thoughts, so you don't have to cut each other.
Shine out,
You
please.
took all the words out of my mouth.
Wow, so now suddenly I
It's
took
your
all
fault.
this
Nothing
guy
to
will.
say.
So the discussion about taking ideas,
Yeah.
it's true here as well.
Oh,
Yeah.
beautiful. Thank you so much, guys, for joining
Thank
us
you, thank you
today.
for having
And
us.
also,
Thank you
thank
for
you
having
so much for watching. We'll see you tomorrow again, where we have four WP candidates here on today's show. We'll see you next one. 2 more days. Like, share, subscribe. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
I look left, look right, for a career path. I look left, look right, for a career path. I look left, look right. I look left, look right. I look, left, right, left, right. 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 is a request considered too high. I look left, look right, for a career path. I look left, look right, for a career path. I look left, look right. I look left, look right. I left.